Hi, I'm Brian Segnet with Xerox, and I'm here with Rod Peru, who's the Technical Program Manager for all of our finishing. And we're going to do a little under the hood with finishing. And we talk about our finishing everyday to extraordinary, and let's go look at some of those things that really give us that extraordinary finishing.
Sounds good.
Rod, we're going to start off. I know when I buy a Versant, right, I can buy an output catch tray, which is going to come here. And I know I have an inline decurler, so I'm going to get a flat sheet. Tell me about this module, the interface decurler.
So the interface module actually contains a decurler that's more capable than the one in the IoT for a broad range of stocks and for ensuring that what we deliver to the finishers is as flat as it can be. The customer has the ability, if they find that the output's not meeting their expectations, to actually manually adjust that. But typically, the decurler operates automatically.
So I know that we've got kind of three flavors of the interface decurler, right? So on the Versant 180, there's one for the performance package. How's that different?
Yes, that's correct. There's actually three different configurations of this decurler module. Each IoT requires its own. But what's unique about the one for the Versant 180 is we have actually two choices. One of them is essentially like this, a standard configuration. The other is one that comes equipped with an inline spectrophotometer. That's actually a spectrophotometer produced by X-Ray.
Terrific. So they're going to look almost the same, but there's three different versions, and I got to make sure that I get the right one for my press.
Yes, they look identical from the outside.
So I know you've been very busy, and you've redesigned the entire finishing chain, if you will, and it looks a lot different, and we've moved up. This looks brand new. The inserter. Tell me a little bit about the inserter and why is it here?
Right. The inserter is positioned here immediately before all of the finishers to give us the advantage of being able to finish all of the materials that we might produce on another device and we'd like to insert into the job. It can be finished along with all of the rest of the materials that we produce through the
So that means if I've got covers that maybe use a different kind of material or was printed somewhere else, pre-printed, I can go ahead and I can put them in. Tell me about the sheet size. How big of a sheet can I, the press can do 13 by 19. Can I feed a 1319 on this inserter?
Yes, we can go all the way up to the maximum size of the press, as well as the maximum weight the press is capable of. So what you can couple those inserts to the same materials that you use on the press.
So 350 GSM, I'm now going to be able to do it right with this inserter. Depending on my size, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in and adjust it.
Yep, up to 250 sheets.
250 sheets, terrific. Tell me about this, the GBC Advanced Punch Pro.
Yes, the GBC Advanced Punch Pro is a model that supports customer changeable dies.
And so what would we do? We go in right here, unlock that?
Yep, so the customer is able to buy a variety of punch dies that support different patterns. For example, this is a model with, this is a C4 model. If they find that they want to make some adjustments to it to remove pins so that they're not perforations at the margins, they can actually disassemble this and remove pins, and this works across the full spectrum of paper sizes.
Right, and so if I have another press, I have another GBC Advanced Punch Pro, can I interchange those dies?
Yes, yeah. The dies are interchangeable from module to module, and there's an actual capability to monitor the life on each one of these. So.
Oh, terrific. So I always know I'm going to get that sharp precision cut.
Yes.
So I would buy different dies for the different type of punch styles that I want. Terrific.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So GBC Advanced Punch Pro, I love that. And we would pair that in line. I know we'll talk a little bit later on about the new E-wire, but let's move down to, this is my favorite piece in the new finishing line.
We'll keep going down the chain.
Two-sided trimmer.
Yes.
Two-sided trimmer with a buffer. Tell us how that works, right?
So the two-sided trimmer actually takes a material produced by the press, and it removes material at each one of these edges here.
So kind of a head and a foot, if you will. It's actually going to trim a head and a foot.
Yes, this would be a typical orientation for a sheet that's destined for booklet making, where it's folded later. So,
and how is that going to cut? Is that cutting one sheet at a time? Tell me about that.
Yes, as each sheet passes through, they're cut by a rotary cutter, and the rotary cutter keeps the image centered. There is some small adjustment to align with an image that might be slightly off.
So as each sheet comes through that paper path, it's going to be trimmed. One of the problems on old finishing or even competitive devices is my finishing would slow down my print engine. I buy a 100% page a minute printer, and all of a sudden my press slows down. Tell me about the buffering unit on here.
So yes, so this also contains, since most of the output that's going to be trimmed in this fashion is destined for booklet making, we take advantage of the paper path in here. The buffering itself allows the printer to continue to produce output. And while the booklets are being formed, and that operation typically requires a little bit of stoppage in the process, those sheets that are being produced are allowed to essentially park in here. And it allows the press to continue to operate, and the sheets then are subsequently sent as a set to downstream.
So would it be safe to say, depending on the size and weight, I can almost run the press at rated speed? Obviously on a bigger sheet or a heavier weight, I'm probably going to get a little speed degradation, but with that buffer, I'm going to really see an increase in the productivity of my finishing.
You'll definitely see an increase in the productivity.
And then I see you got a tray down below that you can empty,
yes.
And I understand that's...
So what's nice about this is as the press is operating and you want to maximize the productivity, as you mentioned, you will ultimately fill that waste bin, but what's nice about that is while the press is in operation, you're able to remove the waste while the press continues to operate and dump this waste bin, put it back in, and continue to run without interruption.
Again, productivity. Next module up, the CZ folder. Tell me about CZ folding. What is that?
CZ folding, yeah, it's a term perhaps I need to just make you aware of, is when we use the term CZ fold, it's a triple fold that forms a C shape. We have the ability to actually modify that so it's in a Z shape. And lastly, we have the ability to,
is this called engineering? Is that called an engineering?
Engineering or half Z fold.
Half Z fold.
Yeah.
This is terrific. I mean, here's a great booklet, right? It's run through, we've stapled it, we've punched it, and then you automatically, right? We're able to run those tabs, but then we're able to put in that engineering Z fold. That is really terrific. A lot of productivity, click to clunk, that comes out automatically. Let's keep on moving on down.
Certainly.
Let's talk about the production-ready finisher, or in this case, a production-ready finisher with a booklet maker. Let's talk about, a lot of folks are interested in how do I stack. So if I have the standard production-ready finisher, what's my stack height on that, on the standard one without the booklet maker?
So the finisher comes in 3 models. The booklet maker model has a capacity of 2,000 sheets.
So 2,000 stacked, stapled, nicely offset, right?
Yes, that's correct. And the base finisher, the finisher that's referred to as a standard finisher, without the booklet making capability, you increase the stack capacity, so then you can stack 3,000 sheets.
So 3,000. So if I'm interested in stacking, go ahead and get that. And then I know we have a top tray, and that's about 500 sheets, right?
About 500 sheets,
okay.
Correct. Yep.
All right, so let's talk about this production-ready finisher. I understand we have the ability now to do punch. If you go ahead and grab that, here's a punch. That's a pretty simple one that everybody knows, right? And what am I going to be able to do?
So this model comes with the ability to select an optional punch module. This is a 3-ring binder pattern. So if a customer selects this option, they are capable of choosing between 2 patterns. One, the 3-hole, classic 3-ring binder layout. They also have a 2-ring binder choice. So that's selectable at the UI. That module is contained within the footprint of the finisher.
Nice.
So
okay.
you can buy
and that's an option that I can go ahead and get.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the booklet maker. One of the things I think that is really cool is the number of pages greatly increases. What's the largest number of sheets that I can put through on this production-ready booklet maker?
So this unit is 30 sheet capable. Not only 30 sheets, but 30 sheets of 90 GSM, which is the most popular weight for color press.
So that's terrific. So that's 30 sheets. That's 30, 60, 90, 110, 20, right? Because
Yeah,
I'm going to take a sheet and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
So I can do a 120-page booklet on that. Wow, that's fantastic.
Right, right.
Anything else on this production-ready finisher you point out?
No, what we have in the stacking and stapling tray area was enhanced the stapling capacity for coated stocks. Now we do 100 sheets for flat stapling of uncoated, but in the past we've been a little bit more limited. Now it's 35 sheets.
And I understand we have a variable length stapler. What does that mean?
Oh, variable length stapling is a staple leg forming that each, depending on the size of the book or of the set that you're stapling, the legs are trimmed to a consistent length. So if you have a 2-page stapled set, or you have a 100-page staple set, the legs that are bent on the underside
so I'm going to get
a
a perfectly sized staple, not one of those big staples
or
or a little tiny staple.
Yeah, or
so that makes for better finishing.
Yep.
Then if we move on down, what's this module called?
So this is called a square fold trimmer module, and this takes output from the booklet maker.
I love the square fold trimmer. What I call it is the poor man's perfect bind, right? And it's often hard to describe. But what it does is it takes a booklet, right, and it'll make this nice flat spine on it. I'll go ahead and grab some of these other booklets. And I think even some of the advantage is it actually puts that stitch or that staple in. So I have what looks like a perfect binder, but now I've got the strength of a stitched booklet. Right.
And you'll notice that sometimes you'll get booklets that come out of a device like this, and they're a little bit thicker, right? They're a little bit bulged. You'll never see that with a square fold trimmer. It'll always give you this flat output.
And because what that's going to do is that's going to cut the face of the booklet, right?
Right. So in the module upstream, we talked about the 2-knife trimmer. That's removed material here. Now in the final stage, we can choose to either square the spine or not, but the last operation is to remove material there, and that removes the stagger from the sheets.
So now I have the ability on my Versant presses, whether it be the 180 or the 3100, I can do full bleed, inline, 3-sided trim, right?
That's
Top,
correct.
bottom, and then that face trim. And so I have kind of, I call it a click-to-clunk booklet that'll automatically come out.
That's
right?
true, yes.
Now I understand on the Production Ready Finisher, I have a module that's called the Production Ready Finisher Plus. What does that mean, and when would I use that?
Right, so that's the third configuration of this finishing, and that is used to interface with advanced finishing, which is produced by third-party suppliers.
So I know that I would hook up maybe the Plockmatic 3550.
Yes.
And so if 3550, just like this does the 30 sheets, on that Plockmatic I'm going to be able to do 50 if I got the 50. So I would be able to make a 200-page booklet. And what are some of the advantages in maybe going with the Plockmatic? More production?
Yeah, so the Plockmatic's design for more a higher volume, higher monthly volume of production. There is tighter precision on the output. It's spec'd a little bit differently than the Inline. And so for those cases where you have customers that are going to produce a lot.
So if I'm all about booklets, I'm all about production, then step up and get the Finisher Plus and hook up my Plockmatic. Another thing that I love is the GBC E-wire, right? So I would use my punch, and I would punch my documents, and then it would ride to the end, and it will give me this E-wire and wire bind. And I understand I can get different types of wires, I can do different punches, I can do different thicknesses. What else can you tell me about the GBC E-wire?
Well, what's nice is that this gives you one of the first instances of a fully inline wire booklet, which is a great lay flat format.
That's terrific, because I know in the past, if I were going to do a punch, sometimes I'm doing it near line, I'm taking covers, so now I can insert my covers, I can do all of those things.
And you can go do something else while the press produces finished booklets.
I'll tell you, that's really what it's all about, right? It's all about how do I get that higher level of productivity.
Yes.
Well, Rod, thanks a lot for this under the hood look.
You're welcome.
Again, for more information, please go to Xerox.com. We've got white papers up there on the new finishing, and pull them on down and go ahead and read about them. Thank you.